Here's a 1968 Zenith, model X4204. This set uses the 20X1C38 chassis, and it's probably one of the most common chassis you're going to find today, if you're lucky enough to find a Zenith tube type set. I'd say the most popular chassis out there would be the 20Y1C48. I'm sure any TV collector that has TVs of this vintage in their collection probably has one of those. But this here's a steel cabinet set, and I picked it up at an estate sale in Bellwood back in March of '03. It was sitting in the garage and on top of a Motorola Works in the drawer, and it didn't work. I can't even remember what the heck I had to do to it, but I've had it for over 5 years and it works good now. But I pulled the back off it. I put a new horizontal output tube in it. It's been sitting down here for about the last 4 years, and when it was warming up, the horizontal was real narrow, so had a weak 6JS6. But here we go. I'll turn it on. Yeah, these sets have a real weird warm-up. They're pretty cool when you turn them off. It's like a kaleidoscope.
He's going to try to argue that he represents change, but a different kind of change.
But did you review here the real reaction of the Republican, at least the Republican hierarchy here?
There you go.
How much surprise do you hear at this?
I get a sense everybody's standing by her and the decision at this point, but there's an uneasiness. There's an anxiety, and it's not an anxiety or an easiness over what they've heard already. It's an anxiety or easiness of what they might hear.
I get the three-part response. Yeah, it was a great pick. We really like her. The announcement yesterday about her daughter. We understand lots of families go through this. We support them. And then if you keep talking to them, the third part is no more shoes dropped. No, we don't like surprises. Remember, no more shoes dropping. So there's a little bit of anxiety behind their enthusiasm.
That was the trade-off that John McCain made. He wanted the big splash. He wanted the big surprise. What you sacrifice is knowing fully what's going on, what's in her background, how it's going to play.
It's all right having worked for him. Were you surprised that he threw a bit of a lightning bolt with his choice?
No, I really wasn't. Moderate surprise, but if you've really paid attention to this, so we all know she was on the long list for a long time, and if you look at her on paper, she energizes the base, which he desperately needs. He's still not there yet. They're happier with him, but they're still not there. And then he looked at her and he says, I see me. I see Maverick. I speak truth to power. I speak not afraid to take on the establishment. I see a little of me, and he's been resenting a little bit that he's lost his Maverick.
And she was the only candidate who sat in a sweet spot, who could both be a big surprise and not enrage this room. The other surprises he was looking at were the person who's going to speak tonight.
Pence used his speed to get all the way back to the wall as quickly as he could, but he couldn't catch it.
Ball hit like a bullet to the opposite field. That's a fastball down the middle of the plate. Gio with a big swing, caught it right on the barrel of the bat.
He's been to Iraq. He's been to Iraq 8 times since 2003. He went seeking truth, not publicity. When he's from a small town with small town values, hardships of their daily lives.
We've added her very.
Yes. And the same character that marked John McCain's military career has also marked his political career. This man, John McCain, is not intimidated by what the polls say or by what is politically safe or popular. At a point in time when the war in Iraq was going badly and the public lost confidence, John stood up and called for more troops, and now we're winning. Was John McCain's hero. And President Reagan admired John tremendously. But when the president proposed putting U.S. troops in Beirut, John McCain, a freshman congressman, stood up and cast a vote against his hero because he thought the deployment was a mistake. My friends, that is character you can believe in. A tin roof. A light bulb in his cell burning 24 hours a day. Boarded up cell windows blocking any breath of fresh air. The oppressive heat causing balls the size of baseballs under his arms. The outside world limited to what he could see through a crack in the door. We hear a lot of talk about hope these days. John McCain knows about hope. That's all he had.
Take a look at the back.
For propaganda purposes, his captors offered to let him go home. John McCain refused. He refused to leave ahead of men who had been there longer. He refused to abandon his conscience and his honor, even for his freedom. He refused, even though his captors warned him, "It will be very bad for you." They were right. It was. The guards cracked ribs, broke teeth off at their gums. They cinched a rope around his arms and painfully drew back his shoulders. Over 4 days, every 2 or 3 hours, the beatings resumed. During one especially fierce beating, he fell again, breaking his arm. John was beaten for communicating with other prisoners. He was beaten for not communicating with so-called peace delegations. He was beaten for not giving information during interrogations. When his captors wanted to know the names of the other pilots in the squadron, John gave them the name of the offensive line of the Green Bay Packers. Whenever John was returned to his cell, walking if he could, dragged if he couldn't, as he passed his other fellow POWs, he would often call out to them. He'd smile, give them a thumbs up. For 5.5 years, this went on. John McCain's bones may have been broken, but his spirit never was. Now, being a POW doesn't qualify anyone to be president, but it does reveal character. My friends, this is the kind of character that civilizations from the beginning of our history have sought in their leaders. Strength, courage, humility, wisdom, duty, honor. It's pretty clear there are two questions that we'll never have to ask ourselves. Who is this man? And can we trust this man with the presidency?
Steel back cover, of course, just like the cabinet.
2003, he went seeking truth, not publicity. When he travels abroad, he prefers quietly speaking to the troops amidst the heat and hardships of their daily lives.